What's this? There's magic in the air. Today we are going over and making a 1 year later video on a signing. We never do these. We always make these videos on trades or on prospects, and that's always been the meat and potatoes of this series. But today we are doing something a little bit different, and for good reason too. Because when it comes to this name and the acquisition that Patrik Allvin made last year, this is one of these situations where you look at it and you say, man, I don't know if it would be hyperbolizing to say that this was one of the best moves this team has made in a very long time. Let's talk today about the big fish free agent from last year who came over to Vancouver after Bruce Boudreau and Patrik Allvin drove hours to see this guy. SKA St. Petersburg superstar, highly touted free agent. He was valued by all these teams in Vegas, Carolina, Edmonton, but he chose Vancouver. Andrei Kuzmenko. Yeah, remember that little tidbit of information? How the Canucks executives and the coach really took it out of their day to see him and to talk to him and express how they wanted him to sign with Vancouver? Well, that happened a year ago. Kuzmenko and his party were impressed, and as a result, he had signed with the Vancouver Canucks on a 1-year deal. Now, we did make a few videos back in that time frame saying, oh yeah, the Canucks got this guy, or they're one of the finalists for this guy. It's between this team and like the Oilers and some other teams out there. There was the meme going around saying that the Oilers took him to a Joey's and Vancouver ended up taking him to a bunch of the restaurants that Aquilini owns, which, I mean, look, we all like to hate on Aquilini because of how he interferes with the management of the Vancouver Canucks, but the guy's got some pretty expensive and pretty good restaurants. I don't know if you've ever been to Eliza, but the one time I ended up going, it was pretty alright. So, Kuzmenko signed with Vancouver, and we did make the videos saying that he is here. I remember going through a lot of the comments in those videos, and a lot of y'all seem to have had pretty varying opinions as to how good he was going to be. We had a bunch of people going out there and saying, yeah, this guy's going to be the next Panarin. This guy's going to get 70 points at a max. And some others who were a bit more pessimistic saying, okay, well, it doesn't really matter if he's not good because he only signed for 1 year. It's fine. Oh yeah, if he gets 40 points, I'll be very satisfied. And it's not necessarily like y'all were being all Debbie Downers about it. It was just some of y'all were super high on him, others were not so much. And that was very fair because when it comes to KHL athletes coming to the NHL, we have said over the past few years that just because a guy produces a lot in the KHL does not mean he's going to produce a boatload of points in the NHL. Some of the top guys in the KHL in scoring the past few years have been names like Lyndon Vay and Peter Holland and Linus Ullmark, guys that really aren't the best NHL players, can produce a lot of points over there. But of course, you do have, once in a while, the players who do translate. The Panarins, the Kirill Kaprizovs, the Nikita Gusevs, for one season at least. And so for Kuzmenko, you didn't really know if you were getting a Vadim Shipachev, who was not really going to be given an opportunity and not really going to show off all too well, or if you were going to get that next Panarin. It was really a mixed bag. And so when Kuzmenko came over to Vancouver, I'm pretty sure all of us were sort of just erring on the side of caution. All right, we'll see what he does. We'll see how good he is. And immediately in the preseason, that's when we saw that this guy was more than legit to play in the NHL. Andrei Kuzmenko ended off his 2022-2023 season with the Vancouver Canucks with 74 points in 81 games played, 39 goals, 35 assists. He was never really noted as a primary goal scorer in the KHL. He was known for his playmaking and his explosiveness, but in the National Hockey League, Kuzmenko showed off the shot, he showed off the ability to tip pucks on goal, he showed off his ability to put pucks in on rebounds, and he ended off the season putting up 39 goals. Like, dude, that's crazy. 40 goals? Let's say 40 because he only played 81 games. He missed a game because Rick Taka came in, yeah. 40-goal season out of a first-year player. I think I was in the mind of a lot of people who said, yeah, if he gets 40 points, we're going to be happy. If he gets 50 points, yeah, we're over the moon. But this guy had 40 goals and 70 points. Like, you cannot get any better than that when it comes to a first-year player subverting your expectations. And in this video, I wanted to go over some other things as well, because, of course, 1 year later, the guy has established himself as a prime-time NHL forward. He's been re-signed by the team till the end of 2025, making $5.5 million a year. And for a player who's 27 years old, this could definitely be a pretty solid dollar amount for the services he provides if he's able to go out there and produce similarly. Well, on that topic, let's go over onto an article published by Daniel Wagner on VancouverisAwesome.com, talking about how Andrei Kuzmenko's shooting percentage will never regress. Now, Wagner is being tongue-in-cheek about this because Andrei Kuzmenko ended up having a 27.3 shooting percentage on the year. It's the highest for any NHL player with at least 100 shots since 1988-89. In fact, this is the 7th highest shooting percentage since the NHL started recording shooting percentages in 1959-60. Wagner's main thesis of this article is that it's not really possible that he does this again, because NHL players never really repeat high shooting percentages. There's a chart here that talks about guys who had shot over 20% in the past few years, and you have some guys that were able to replicate that, and Tanguay and Oshie and such, but that's pretty much it. All these other guys who have gone out there with really high shooting percentages have come back the next season and not really done all too well. And for Andrei Kuzmenko, it's going to be difficult to see where he goes next year with that shooting percentage, because the thing is, most of his goals weren't really on the rush snipes, like he's beating goaltenders with his wicked wrist shot all the time. Like, he had a fair share amount of goals like that, but a good chunk of his goals were rebounds and tip-ins, and those don't necessarily depict the shooting ability, quote-unquote, of a player. But in terms of the stat tracking, they're technically counted as shots because they end up being shots on goal. So it's going to be interesting to see where this goes next year. Obviously, for Kuzmenko, we know how good of a presence he is in front, which is how he was able to find himself so many tip-in and rebound goals in the first place. But either way, this is a talented player. And if you take a look at what he's been up to recently, he's been in Bali, training in the off-season. We've had a bunch of videos and pictures of him hanging out with elephants, and he's boxing, and his agent Dan Milstein earlier today posted a few videos of Andrei Kuzmenko running around the Bali, Indonesia scenery, just kind of doing a really interesting workout where he's going up the stairs and then coming back down. He also got the split squats, I'm pretty sure. Is that called a Bulgarian split squat? I'm really not too sure. I have to ask my personal trainer friend of mine. He's doing this with a plank of wood, and he's doing it right in front of the scenery. So, yeah, Kuzmenko is living the good life. He has a training staff in Bali that's helping him out, and we've been seeing the videos over the past few days. You could see the clips of him in the gym as well, doing some pretty intensive training, which is awesome to see because Rick Tocchet really placed an emphasis on these Canucks having good fitness for next season. And Andrei Kuzmenko was one of the guys that, honestly, he flew out of the gate. Like, we talked in the previous video about how Brock Besser was one of the guys that we kind of note for having slower starts to this season. It usually takes a while for him to pick it up and eventually take over. But for Kuzmenko, nah. Game 1, he was already going out there doing his thing, and it was very soon that we realized that this player was a very special addition to the Canucks. So realistically, I mean, there's a lot of potential here in the next 2 seasons that we're going to be able to see. Hopefully he goes out there, replicates the same amount of success. I don't know if necessarily the shooting percentage is going to be as high, but if he could go out there and still maintain that 60-plus point caliber, then that's all we really need, right? I mean, I don't want to be too hard on the guy, but the sophomore slump does exist. Once NHL teams get your game tape, they have a full sample of you playing in the National Hockey League. It usually comes in year 2 in the NHL when the numbers start to decline, when the goals stop going in, and things go a little bit rough. So if Kuzmenko did go through some sort of a slump for year 2, I would not be surprised. It would most likely fall into the common pattern of NHL seasons. It's normal for players to go through things like this, but if he goes out there and has the same season he had last year, he gets 70 points again, he gets near 40 goals again, then okay, like, be my guest, Andrei Kuzmenko. Go out there and break a leg. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about the Andrei Kuzmenko signing 1 year later? What are your thoughts about him training in Bali? What are your thoughts about the idea of his shooting percentage regressing for next season? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Trolls99. And bye.